everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're covering the darkest Marvel movie to date, Venom.
After a faulty interview with the Life Foundation ruins his career, former reporter Eddie Brock's life is in pieces, and 6 months later, he comes across the Life Foundation again, and he comes into contact with an alien symbiote and becomes Venom, a parasitic antihero.
Which is very different from both the original trilogy and the animated version we saw, because this one is horrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was nothing like I expected. It was nothing like I expected. It was entertaining, slow to start, but it definitely was entertaining.
And Jonan actually did point out that the movie should have probably been called Eddie because Venom is not as much in the movie as you think. He's in it, for sure, but he's not like at the very beginning and it just like he's in there and then every now and then it switches back and forth. That doesn't really come in until like 30 minutes into the film. They've only focused on Eddie and I guess how he ends up getting to Venom, because it's incredibly different from how we've seen portrayed in the other two ways and the way it works, where it feeds off negative emotions and hate, and here it just feeds off whoever it wants, whoever it can. If it can stay stable or alive long enough, it becomes a host, and that's it.
Well, it seems to be Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood versus Full Metal Alchemist 2003 version, where you get more backstory. And it didn't seem to hurt him at the box office because it took between 100 and 116 million to produce, but it grossed over 856 million at the box office.
That is true.
$1 billion when it was in theaters.
Right. And I think people are really excited because he is a very popular Spider-Man villain, now antihero, in the comic book series or in the movie series. Now, I do remember seeing a little bit of him in the Spider-Man 3. It's been a while, but I remember that it was kind of like the same thing they did in animated, where it was with Peter, was part of the suit, like that was his new suit, and you could see it was starting to change him, and then he was becoming angrier and darker, more hateful, and he had to get rid of it.
That also happened in the Tobey Maguire version as well, so yeah.
Right, and here it looks like they adapted it from the miniseries Venom Lethal Protector in the story arc Planet of the Symbiotes. So you now know where the symbiotes come from and why they even came on the meteor to begin with to Earth. They want another planet to colonize. I guess maybe the original one got destroyed or something. And here they made him, like I said, more of an anti-hero instead of a villain, since the intent was to separate it from the MCU.
And I don't know what the thing is with his tongue, but yeah, they kept making that real prominent in every time he was around. And I know when we've seen some of the animated versions, of course, the tongue makes an appearance, but it wasn't as in the forefront as it was in this movie.
Which I think some people must like it, or that's his signature. That's one or the other, or both, because it's like, can you stop that? You can talk without doing that.
Personally, I was not very familiar with Tom Hardy as an actor or his work, but I have to say he is fantastic in this movie.
Yes,
he absolutely is fantastic, and he definitely portrays being an everyman very well in here. I mean, it's so believable and it's so genuine and so real. He's fantastic.
And you could see they had lifted some things from Spider-Man, like they made him the reporter instead, and he was always, I guess, like an activist looking for the truth instead of working for the paper. They had him with a girlfriend. He was in an apartment. He was at a steady job. It was sort of like you said, the everyman. And then you had the villain, who was pretty, if you think about it, standard in terms of, you know, wanting to do the wrong things for the right reasons, helping people, and want to help them live longer. But to do that, you got to do something dangerous or fatal. And it kind of was falling into that, but I could look at it, like push that aside, because it was such a interesting story in the way they have written this. And like I said, Venom doesn't feed off of hate or anything in here. He just feeds off a living thing. So that was the substitute. Like, okay, which is worse?
Wanting to eat different people.
Yeah. Can I eat him? No. Can I eat him? No. He's a good person. Can I eat him? No. Quit eating people. And yeah, that's how it'll work in here. You couldn't eat anything dead. It had to be living. I'm like, what kind of is this?
Well, he's a parasitic symbiote.
Yeah.
And if one of them is dead, it's no longer a parasitic or symbiotic relationship. So they really took it to literally mean scientifically what it is.
Yeah. And then it was even to a point. Oh wait, before we get to that, Definitely gonna talk about some of the other stars in here. We noticed your ever favorite Ponyhead Jenny Slate was playing a role.
And it was so funny because as soon as I saw, I said, "Rascal, that's Ponyhead." She says, "I don't know, I don't think so." Yes, that's Jenny Slate. That's Jenny Slate. As soon as I saw her and she opened her mouth and she wasn't even doing the Ponyhead voice, I said, that's Jenny Slate. And lo and behold, it was.
Right. And then he had Riz Ahmed as the villain. Tom Hardy was both Eddie and the voice of Venom.
And Michelle Williams, who's done a lot of great movies, and she's known as a very strong, actually dramatic actress. So this is a really good role and a good fit for her.
Right.
Although it could have given her a better hairstyle.
And they also had Reed Scott, who is the voice of Mike Chilton, as playing her new boyfriend.
And Bennett was excited as you are.
And I didn't even know who he looked like till I got to the end. Like, Reed Scott, no way! I hadn't seen him in so long since Motor City, so it was great to see. Now, they have announced that there's going to be a sequel with Tom Hardy returning.
Looking forward to it.
Andy Serkis is going to direct it, and it'll be released.
Andy Serkis from doing the voice of Caesar in the Planet of the Apes.
Right. And it's going to be out October 2nd of next year. Yes. So it'll be another, I guess, Halloween-themed style movie. And here, they've been trying to do a Venom movie for years, but they couldn't really get off the ground. And it was supposed to be part of the MCU as somebody that Spider-Man got up against, but then they decided to make it separate altogether, change the backstory, didn't make him a student, change Venom's role altogether. But then after the stuff that happened with Spider-Man probably being out of the MCU temporarily and then bringing him back, they decided, okay, we'll bring Venom in too, and now there's going to be a fight between them. Don't know how or why, but you know what's coming now because he's technically now back and part of that universe, so it's no longer going to be a Sony Cinematic Universe now.
Right.
And then lastly, there is one point that probably got mentioned because this was actually popular at the time it came out. After like a few weeks of the movie being out, there were people, the relationship between the Venom and Eddie is vastly different. There's no one knows if this is really like part of the story or not, or this is a fan thing. There's been a heavy amount of shipping between Eddie and Venom, and fans seem to, because of this new change, have seemed to love that because it looked more like a buddy cop weird thing they were having with a slight of horror. Right. But many people were taking their dialogue to each other as something romantic, and I personally did not pick up on that, but a lot of people were really intent on saying they were together, like maybe that's who he finds somebody with instead of the girl that dumped him.
And I think one big scene that played into that is when he merged with the ex-girlfriend, who was an ex-girlfriend at that time.
Yeah.
And took a female shape, and then to go on to him, he kissed him, we'll put it a clean way.
Yeah.
He kissed him in order to transfer the symbiote.
Right.
And yeah, that probably plays into that.
Yeah, and they said they wanted to have Eddie be, I think they want to be queer, but without stating it. So you would, I guess, find out as it goes on. And when they advertised the stuff, it was more like a romantic comedy as a joke. But a lot of people took it seriously. So I guess just up to the viewer to decide, how is it? Is it more like them working together? Is it more romantic? Is it just forced teamwork because he's the only one that survives because he's not weak? It's pretty much up to you. But I did find it interesting because I do remember seeing that being very heavy on YouTube and Tumblr and other sites, saying they really did ship them. So that's pretty interesting for this movie ended up producing. Definitely. Whether intentionally or not, and the fans did it. So
definitely. Now, Rotten Tomatoes didn't like this very much. They gave it a real low 4-score rating. But clearly no one cares because making almost $1 billion at the theater, that clearly lets you know that fans, and whether they were new fans or returning fans, do like this version of Venom.
Right. So, if you have seen it, let us know what you thought of it in the comments. And if you haven't, go ahead and check it out. Just don't watch it at night.
Also, if you are familiar with Tom Brady...
No, it's Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. I've done that before. Tom Hardy and some other work he's been in that he's fantastic. Please let me know and forgive my ignorance. And I'll take a look at some of his movies. Hopefully some of them are animation-based or superhero based as well.
Right. So, thank you very much for watching. I'm Oscar Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting flashing lights, trying to walk around, man, who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. With her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket, give it to you later on in the form of a locket.